Will President Trump really be able to dismantle the Department of Education? Unfortunately, the answer is almost certainly no, and I'll explain why here in a second, but let's get to the story about his coming decree, his coming executive order. According to theblaze.com, Trump will reportedly sign executive order to eliminate the Department of Education. This will come on Thursday. President Trump is expected to sign an executive order to end the Department of Education, according to several news media reports. Trump will sign the order at a White House ceremony with several Republican governors and state education commissioners, according to USA Today, which cited several top administration officials. The president is expected to order Education Secretary Linda McMahon to take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the Department of Education and return education authority to the states. Critics are likely to challenge the order on the basis that congressional approval is necessary to close the department and take the issue to the courts. Other acts of the president have been shut down by various judges, and appeals may lead to the U.S. Supreme Court. And let's keep that in mind when I go into why it's probably not going to work. White House Principal Deputy Secretary, Press Secretary Harrison Fields told USA Today that the order would, quote, empower parents, states, and communities to take control and improve outcomes for all students. He cited recent results from the National Assessment of Education Progress exam that showed a national education crisis. Our children are falling behind, he said, and that is very true. Ron DeSantis came out and he posted an op-ed in the Washington Post about it, in support of it, of course. Democrats are going to oppose it vehemently. They'll oppose all proposals to eliminate the Department of Education, as they are wont to do. They own the teachers' unions, or perhaps more importantly, the teachers' unions own them. They have argued that doing so would end vital funding for the resources for students across the country, and that's just simply not true. That's not how this would work. If you transfer the power to the states, they're making the decisions. They're not necessarily not going to receive the budgets. And that's the part where I'm a little, I wouldn't say confused. I am not confused by any means. That's the wrong way to put it. I'm in a bit of disagreement with the White House in this regard, but I can understand the play that they're making. There are two plays that can be made here as it pertains to the Department of Education, which I love. Okay, play number one is to throw it out there as a sacrificial lamb, basically, that they're going to say, look, here is what we want, and then it'll work its way up through the courts, and the Supreme Court is going to shut them down. They're not shut down the Department of Education. They're going to shut down the executive order. They're going to rule that it is unconstitutional. Why? Well, because it was created by Congress. The executive branch does not have the power, even through the president issuing an executive order, they do not have the power to dismantle a department that was created by Congress. This was signed into law by Jimmy Carter back in, 1979, went into effect in 1980. It was through an act of Congress, the Department of Education Organization Act of 1979, and it's there. It's stuck. We're stuck with it. The only way that it can be removed is through further legislation, which would mean, of course, they would have to get a supermajority in the Senate and to be able to pass that. Now, the question then is, does the Trump administration know this? Of course they do. So then the question becomes, why would they do it? And that's where it gets into strategy. This is intended to be a win for the Democrats. It's intended to be a Supreme Court victory for the left. Unfortunately, because we have John Roberts as the Chief Justice, he likes to lean in whichever direction he feels will bring balance to the court. He's a big balanced guy. It's idiotic. He's also probably compromised, as I covered in my show yesterday or the day before. But as it pertains to this, he's going to want to, he won't just give the Trump administration every possible win. He will prevent them from winning some of them. And this is one that he can say, hey, the Democrats won this one, the Republicans can win this one. It's a trade-off. I know that sounds wonky, but that's the truth. I mean, that's what's happening here. There's no illusion in the White House that they can use an executive order to get rid of a department that was created by Congress. That just can't happen. There's no chance that the Supreme Court will allow it. As a matter of fact, I would not be surprised if it was 9-0 against this particular executive order. Now, again, the strategy there is to offer up a sacrificial lamb executive order so that they can get wins on the other side. Great. I get it, but I disagree. I think that the proper course of action, and wait, let me say, I disagree now, but the fallback might actually be what I'm about to describe, which is to slowly work down the Department of Education and start to use, because it is still an executive branch, to be clear. Even though it was created by Congress, it is an executive branch, and as a result, they can start to disperse differently. They can start to operate differently. They can start to send more power, more control back to the states. That is within their purview, and that would stand, executive orders to that regard would stand. And as a matter of fact, they wouldn't even necessarily need executive orders for a lot of that. It can just be done by decree through Linda McMahon herself. That would be what I would love to have seen instead of this executive order. But, as I said, it's very possible, I would say maybe even likely, that the idea here is to use the quote-unquote judicial political play here of giving the Democrats a win on the executive order and then falling back afterwards on, okay, fine, we can't eliminate the department. Only Congress can do that. Therefore, we're going to use our executive power that they cannot challenge to start reducing staff, to start reducing grants, to start sending, more of the power, the control back to the states. That's what I would love to do up front. But again, I'm not a political strategist. If their notion here is to give the Democrats, give the left a win at the Supreme Court, and then fall back on the dismantling by incrementally, basically, then yeah, that's probably a good strategy. Wouldn't be the way I would go. But then again, that's why I am a podcaster and editor of the Liberty Daily instead of sitting there as a consultant for the Trump administration. Thank you so much for watching that video. If you have not already, now would be a great time for you to subscribe and to give me a thumbs up. It's just a couple of clicks, but it dramatically helps me, my family, and of course it helps the United States of America.